Hi, it's Kevin May in the Phocuswire Studio. So one of our partner interviews with OAG. Welcome back, Vipul Nakum, Chief Product Officer at OAG. We spoke this time last year. So we've got some different things to talk about this time. So thanks ever so much again for joining us. So there's a lot of kind of excitement around startups and flight data and stuff like that. I mean, what are you seeing, at a broad level? What does OAG kind of make of that kind of part of the sector?
So first and foremost, OAG's been plugged into flight information being used in a number of different use cases. And what we're seeing first and foremost, particularly now more than ever before, is the conversation around travel tech and data combined. They used to be kind of siloed conversations, but now they're combined conversations. And we're seeing that pace of that change and that creation, that innovation, and the investment into that combined thinking process to be far higher and far faster than ever before.
Okay.
That's first and foremost.
And that's something that you would say, just to go back to last year since we last spoke, is that something that's accelerated, would
Absolutely.
you say?
Certainly accelerated, and we're seeing even more acceleration just by the type of conversations and the type of investment choices that either professional money or even the strategic participants in the industry are making into these opportunities.
Okay, so data, as you say, is at the heart of all this, but it is more intricate.
Correct.
It's inherently more intricate, which is a blessing and a curse in a way, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I mean, how are the existing players kind of working to address the challenge of it becoming just more intricate and more complicated?
So the complication, I can break it down into 3 ways. Number one, first of all, there's complexity around the multiple sources of data, right? So data is coming from different formats, different entities, different time stamps, different frequencies, all of that. Secondly, it comes in structures that are legacy structures as well as modern structures. So there's all this complexity around just getting the data in and cleansing that. And then the startups are having challenging with not necessarily knowing the domain very well, right? So that's where companies like ourselves at OAG can interpret that. And then there's the final layer of the real intelligence comes from connecting the data.
Okay.
So when you take all of the different content sets and connect them together, that's when you get some real actionable intelligence.
Okay.
And that's where the startups are looking for more help and actually creating business value.
Okay, to go back to a word you mentioned just previously, complexity, right? So be a little bit more specific about that, and in particular, what's the kind of the impact on startups that you're trying to help them with?
So let me give you a specific example of complexity. So I talked about data from multiple sources, different frequencies. There's gaps in the data, right? People don't think about there's going to be lots of gaps in the data. So let me give you one specific example. So if we take flight information and tail numbers on the aircraft itself.
Okay.
In many instances, the supply of data, either the tail number is missing, it's cut off, it's corrupted in the transmission. So if you don't know the tail number, from an airport services example, they don't know which ramp to bring or which kind of crew to bring to the gate.
Yeah.
So the operational side of the entire turnaround process starts failing.
Okay.
So the kind
that sounds a bit scary.
It's scary, right? So the kind of thing that we would do at OAG is not only understand where the gaps are, but then we apply machine learning to that process, say, well, we know what the schedule is, we know what the status is, and then we try and map all that data out and figure out what the tail number of the actual aircraft is.
Okay.
So we start filling those gaps.
Yep.
And that's the complexity we try and make simplified for our end customers and the entrepreneurs and the startups.
Okay, so and last of all, Vipul, I mean, NDC is something that gets bandied around a lot more. It seems to have kind of become accepted by most of the parts of the industry. I mean, what kind of a role do you think it will have in solving some of the complexities in particular that you've just been referencing?
So it solves part of the problem, but not all of the problem.
Okay.
So first of all, NDC has been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And is it accelerating in terms of how the largest airlines are going after it? Yes, they're investing a lot of money into it. But when we talk to the mid-tier airlines and the smaller airlines, it's not high on their list.
Okay.
So and the reason is because they've got higher priorities and it takes a ton of investment and resources and understanding of how data needs to be handled. Secondly, NDC is about the distribution and more control by airlines into the distribution channel. But the air travel, the data that exists in the air travel ecosystem doesn't end with just distribution data. There's on-time performance, there's status data, there's predictive delay, there's predictive demand. So it doesn't address any of those factors. So NDC, while it's a good thing to support the whole distribution side, there's lots of areas of data that does not get addressed by NDC at all.
Okay, then we'll have to see what happens with that for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, Vipul, thanks ever so much for joining us. OAG, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Gabriel.